Welcome to another captivating episode of Raw MOMvressations,
where fearless moms and experts unite to explore alternative practices. Hey there, I'm Allie.
And I'm Melania. Our mission is to empower your one-of-a-kind parenting journey. Join us as we explore unconventional birthing and parenting methods.
Get ready for inspiration, authentic stories, and unwavering family love.
Together, we're rewriting our rules of parenting one bold step at a time.
So without further ado, let's kick off this empowering momversation.
Raw MOMvressations, where fearless motherhood leads the way. Welcome back, Christina, our naturopath. We've already had an episode with Christina, and we asked Christina in our first episode what were the common health issues she sees in her practice, and one of them was constipation. So we have a whole episode on that, and you can learn about Christina listening to that episode. And today we're focusing on immunity.
Mm-hmm. So welcome back, Christina.
Thank you for having me back.
So let's talk about the increased use of antibiotics in today's society.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so even if you look like statistically speaking, worldwide antibiotic usage from like the 2000s to 2015 is about 65% increase. Okay, so that's huge.
Wow. And
we're not even at 2023 yet. I would have to go find the stats for more recent. But that was the one that I was able to find just from previous years. And so that's huge. Definitely, it's more and more, again, in practice, when someone comes in to see me, like I ask, what's your previous meds that you've taken? Are you on any prescription drugs? And antibiotics is one of, the most common and the most frequent one I see.
How does the use of antibiotics affect the gut health?
So in a few ways, yeah. I'll try to explain this as simply as I could. But basically, it decreases, like we spoke about briefly about the kind of the ecosystem in our gut, the good and the bad. It does decrease the microbial diversity in your gut. And that's just, again, there's lots of research on it. There's been studies done on it. It also increases the antimicrobial resistance to the antibiotic. It promotes pathogens like C. difficile and yeast that could cause diarrhea. And we see that quite often, that, antibiotic caused diarrhea caused by antibiotic usage. So those are just a few of the symptoms that you can get. More shorter term diarrhea, yeast infections, recurrent yeast infections. I've seen that. Liver damage. It does spike your liver enzymes on blood work. Now those are supposed to go back to normal. If they don't, for me, that's problematic. Itching, rash, hives, we've seen that happen after antibiotic usage.
Can you explain a little bit the long-term side effects that are consequences of taking antibiotics?
Yeah, so as I was explaining on the constipation episode, our gut is kind of, like I said, the tight junctions. I don't know if you girls remember. So if it becomes loose, more pathogens can get in, and that's what the antibiotic does. So yes, it's helping you, but long term, we have like our mucosal layer, and it does decrease that mucosal layer in thickness. So it is decreasing, so it increases the chances of pathogens and other bacteria to go in. And again, it is affecting your gut health, because if our mucosal layer is not thick and nice and healthy, this increases the risk of being less immune, having a lower immunity, catching more diseases, more colds, more infections. So it's a little bit of a catch-22, like the more and more, I'm not saying not to use antibiotics. There is a time and place when to use antibiotics. But definitely as a mom, and what I do, let's say for my children, for me, I consider it more of a last resort than a first reach for the antibiotic. So I'll always explore my other options first before going in and administering that, or choosing to administer that. I just think more and more parents should, ask these questions. I mean, it's your right. You should discuss these things with your practitioner. And discuss what other alternatives, and, ask the question, is it absolutely necessary? I think there's nothing wrong in having an open communication with practitioners.
Yeah, asking what the risks, what the benefits are.
Yeah,
what can you do
exactly.
before and after taking them?
Yeah, exactly. And in all medicine, that's how we look at things. Even in pharma, even in pharmacology, we always look at benefit risk ratio. So is it absolutely necessary? What are the benefits and what are the risks? And then it's up to you, and you can make that choice if you want to go ahead with it.
And so if they have taken antibiotic, how could parents strike a balance between the necessary treatment and preserving your gut health?
Yeah. So, I mean, this is important because diet has to be really on point here, because we need all the nutrients we can get during the antibiotic treatment. Definitely doing at least natural probiotics, so like the kefir, the kimchi, the sauerkraut during antibiotic usage. And there are studies that probiotics were shown to reduce the severity of antibiotic associated diarrhea and the negative side effects. But again, going back to certain strains are important. The two that were researched most and proved this result was S. boulardii, so that specific strain, and Lactobacillus rhamnosus GG. Okay, it's a mouthful, but those are the two.
It's about 20 letters long, that one.
Yes, exactly. And so, see, most people won't know that, offhand. So those two would really, really be the most beneficial.
Would you take them
help with other conditions?
Would you take them at the same time, or
never,
morning and night?
No, so never same time. It's always 2 hours apart from the antibiotic. So it really depends the scheduling that the doctor suggested for the antibiotic. Let's say it depends the situation, depends the infection. Right. Some children need to take them morning, night. Some children need to be administered it 3 times a day. Others 2, depending the dosing. So very important. The important message here is to always separate the antibiotic and the probiotic by 2 hours. And I mean, you'll hear different things from different people. There's some people that suggest after antibiotic usage. There's some people that suggest like before, during. So all different takes depending the practitioners. But in my opinion, really it should be during, and especially, like I said, the data is pretty strong for those 2 strains during an antibiotic to help mitigate and do some damage control.
Some of the side effects are they instant, or can they show up like a few weeks after antibiotics are taken?
So when we're talking about rash, hives, itching, that's pretty instant, I would say, like within a few days. We have seen, like I said, when it talks more liver damage, it really depends. Like if somebody's been given an antibiotic over a period of 1 month, 2 months consecutively, that's when we really start to worry about more like liver, stomach, gut. So that, again, it could maybe only come up later. So it's really, really case dependent. And there we would really need to look at the data, look at their blood work, probably do like an oats test to really see the damage. But again, then symptoms would be coming out in other ways, like digestive issues, chronic constipation, things like that.
My poor daughter was on antibiotics for a UTI. And then about 2 weeks later, she had severe diarrhea, severe rash for like a good 2 weeks. It was just brutal. Like, poor girl. I should have just called you back then, but
yeah, it's a thing. It exists, and this is reoccurring, and that's why it goes back to like really looking for your specific situation for your child. Is it absolutely necessary? And I mean, again, there's certain cases where yes, it's necessary. It's life or death. It's a serious infection for sure. But see, like in cases of UTIs, we do see sometimes the yeast coming back, or people with history of UTIs. We would look at things differently, and from a holistic side of things, we look at things a little differently for recurrent yeast infections.
Interesting. We'll have to do a whole episode about
I mean,
that.
and then the question arises, like, where does it end, right?
I know.
Do you want to take antibiotics for the rest of your life? And that goes for any medication, right? Like, is that that has to be really your decision. But I would just, encourage people to think about that, a little bit more, like, and especially a child. It's such a young age. Do we really want to affect the gut so heavily at such a young age? Like, they're just developing, and that too. And I could share this study. They did show that neonatal exposure to antibiotic actually impairs growth in the first 6 years of life. That's huge. Like, even if it's one study, even if it's two, like, do you want to take the risk? I don't know. Again, this is really subjective, and everybody has their own threshold for sure. I'm saying more my opinion.
Neonatal is, what's neonatal? I can't even say it. Neonatal. Is that like when the baby's growing, or is that like young?
Young.
Okay.
Young. So by definition, I think like newborn, like the first 4 weeks, the first 4 or 5 weeks of a child's life.
That would be affected when the mom is getting the antibiotics during labor.
True, exactly. Yeah, those are things to consider. Again, is it absolutely necessary? Do you wanna? Would you want to take it? Is there an alternative? Again, I'm not saying like not to take anything, but is there other alternatives? What can we do? Like, and again, when people come to my office, it's usually for that. They're coming with expecting something. They're coming to me to find another solution.
Right.
What alternative approaches or therapies can reduce the need for antibiotics?
So definitely when we talk about antibiotics, it's going to be, really, really, really immunity, everything to do with immunity, boosting your immunity. So, I mean, it all comes down to diet and nutritional deficiencies. So definitely increasing that. If it's a baby, I mean, being breastfed helps. The breast milk is, like we say, liquid gold. It's setting up the kid for a better gut health, protecting it in that way. So that I would say would be the most natural, and nothing, if you're formula fed too, you could find good formulas out there that have at least vitamins, minerals. But again, maybe talk to a practitioner. What's the best type of formula? What should it have in it, et cetera, et cetera. So that's more young. As they get older and start going to daycare and building up their immunity naturally, this is where and again, toddlers, I know they go through phases, they're more picky, but this is where I would say like vitamin C is important, vitamin D, getting out there, getting just through the sun, because that's how we absorb the vitamin D. Vitamin C in foods like the citrus ones, kiwi, antioxidants, in spinach, berries, apricots, collard greens, pineapple. The center of pineapple is full of bromelain, which helps with immunity. So just, again, I find like food is medicine. We don't have to go too far. And again, I think in 2023, it's very pushed, like all about supplements. Not really my style. I think that we have to build on the foundation first, and doing this at such a young age to build up slowly and gradually the immunity. For sure, there are things that can help, like vitamin C, vitamin D, probiotics, zinc, elderberry. That's a good one for flu season. Echinacea, all these things in terms of having a natural medicine cabinet would be great. But again, I try to get it through food first. So raw honey, manuka honey, cooking a lot with garlic. Garlic is antibacterial. It's just a proven fact. Try to cook a little bit more with garlic, salt, ginger, onions, bone broth. Bone broth too is my version of liquid gold. I mean, they're getting all the minerals and nutrients through the bone broth. So there's options out there and ways to build up the immunity. Colostrum, which is made through the mother's milk, you could also give it in supplement form, which definitely helps build immunity in children. So that's nice, even as an alternative. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So let's say like you weren't able to breastfeed for XYZ reasons, at least we could maybe supplement with a powder form colostrum.
Oh,
so
interesting.
It's a nice tool.
Love that.
You're like all up on that.
I know. It's like good to know. I need to throw that into my cabinet.
And it doesn't matter if it's not your own colostrum.
No. So it's bovine. It comes from animal. So again, obviously, if you're vegetarian, you wouldn't be able to eat this, or if you're lactose, wouldn't be able. But yeah, I mean, everyone else can.
It's such a vicious circle, right? Because you're taking an antibiotic, you potentially didn't heal the gut during or afterwards, and then maybe you're weakened, so you're going to get another sickness.
And that's why I was saying that catch-22. It's like the more you use antibiotics, first of all, your body's getting more dependent on it. It can develop a resistance, and also you're ruining your gut health. So it's like a catch-22, kind of setting yourself up for really bad immunity.
Well, that was the whole fear I had with my daughter is she had a UTI. Then she got the diarrhea and the rash, which was so severe. And then she spiked a fever after that. So I'm like, oh my God, is this going to cause another UTI from the diarrhea? You know, I was like in this cycle of fear and praying that it would not be the case.
I know it's hard. But like, then I would just go back to like benefit risk.
Yeah.
You know, in those situations. And that's why I really do it case by case. Even with my kids, I take that decision for everything. Like, is it benefit risk? Do they absolutely need this?
So, Christina, we are in the midst of flu season. What would be your top recommendations to help parents get through this period with their children?
Yeah, so depending the age, but generally speaking, like 2+. I love the Echinacea by Avogel, the tabs. So they're chewable tabs, really, really great for flu season, helping build up that and avoid infection. Also, Deep Immunity by St. Francis. So it has astragalus, which really helps. It's an herb to help immunity in children. It has a little bit of honey in it as well. So that's why it's 2+. And then the last one would be definitely vitamin D. For me, that's really basic, especially winter months. We all live in Canada. We don't get as much sun exposure as other countries. Every kid should be on vitamin D.
These come in like pill format or liquid?
No. So what's nice is, so the Echinacea tabs, you can get it from like IJ, Tao, Amazon, I think has it too. It's chewables. What I suggest for some younger kids, just cut, you could crush the tablet if they're not as comfortable chewing it. Or like the 2-year-olds, they're not as comfortable yet chewing. So you can just always crush it.
Yeah, that's what I do. I crush it and put it in her OJ.
Exactly. And then the other two are liquid. The vitamin D is really neat because it's
spray,
fruit punch flavor, and kids tend to love it. And it's just a spray. So super easy to count. And the Deep Immune is a liquid, so you can give it with a spoon or a syringe, whatever your preference.
Do you still recommend vitamin D in the summer or just the winters, because we're not so much in the sun?
Unless I see like signs of maybe leaky gut or other issues, and in children that tends to be less common. I see it more in adults. So no, if you're getting enough sun exposure, it's usually okay. Plus, if you have a good and well-balanced diet, those two in concurrence are usually enough. So I would say more for the winter months, but there are some parents that choose to still give the vitamin D in the summer months, but just like the lowest dose.
Beautiful.
Christina, both of our episodes with you were primarily focused on children, but anyone and everyone can come and see you.
Yes. So, I mean, definitely I specialize in children. I specialize in hormone health. So that's a big one. I work with a lot of fertility clients. So trying to conceive, also postpartum, pregnancy, like during pregnancy. So pregnancy health, that's a big one. I also see men, a lot of men come to me for nutrition, for like weight training, helping certain supplements for weight training.
Also fertility.
Yes, right, also fertility. Yeah. That's a big one. Yeah. Usually I see couples like together or, separate. I mean, IBS, IBD, those things, any gut issues, digestive issues, male and female. I mean, I think I've done it all. Eczema is a big one in all adults, male, female, and children. Acne is a big one too. So yeah. And like I said, a lot of, some people do come to me like wanting to either find alternative or just kind of, sometimes it's just general health. And I'm open to that too. Like Sometimes they just want, opinions or ideas on what foods are healthy, what they're eating, etc. And then some other people just come for functional tests, which we do as well.
Those
so
are
if you're interested in that,
I just feel like I could rack your brain for like 4 hours.
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah, we could be here till tomorrow. I love this stuff, so I could
literally.
I could talk,
and if
for a
anybody
long time.
Googles you, you literally have only the most positive reviews. So anybody would
thank
lucky to
you.
come and be in contact with you.
Thank you. That means a lot.
If anyone missed our first episode, they could reach you
through Instagram, or if they're clients already, you can just email the clinic. So info@centredesolutionssante.com, and you can find all the info on their website, or you can even just call the clinic. Mary's the best. She's our receptionist, and she'll just lead your call or direct or leave me a message for me to call you guys back.
Wonderful.
I love it.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Christina.
Thank you so much. That was another real and raw conversation.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.